1 year passed since the day the Defiant appeared without warning and changed everything. The galaxy had settled into an uneasy new normal. Species that once strutted with confidence now walked carefully. Empires that once threatened smaller worlds now thought twice before making demands. The balance of power had shifted in ways nobody could have predicted. Admiral Lisa Chen stood on Earth for the first time in 18 months. She had been given 2 weeks of leave. Time to see family. Time to walk under open sky instead of looking at it through a viewport. Time to remember what she was protecting out there in the cold vacuum of space. She walked along a beach in California. The sand was warm under her feet. The ocean stretched to the horizon. Waves crashed and withdrew in their eternal rhythm. A few children played in the distance, building castles that the tide would eventually wash away. They did not know or care about galactic politics. They just knew they were safe. That was enough, her communicator buzzed. She considered ignoring it. This was supposed to be her time off, but old habits died hard. She checked the message. It was from General Blake, not urgent but important. She tapped to open the full text. Admiral, the message read, thought you should know. The Council has formally invited Earth to send observers to their sessions. Not full members yet, but a step in that direction. Also, 3 more species have joined what they are calling the Sol Alliance. Small species looking for protection and fair treatment. Jake Morrison is handling the diplomacy. He is good at it. We are building something here. Something that might actually work. Enjoy your leave. You earned it. Blake Chen smiled and put the communicator away. The Sol Alliance. It had a nice ring to it. A group of species banding together based on mutual benefit rather than fear and domination. It was a radical idea in this part of the galaxy. But then again, humans specialized in radical ideas. She continued her walk along the beach. In the distance, she could see the orbital elevator that connected Earth to the stations above. Ships came and went constantly now. Trade ships, diplomatic vessels, tourist craft carrying curious aliens who wanted to see the homeworld of the species that had shocked the galaxy. Earth was no longer isolated. It was becoming a hub, a meeting place, a symbol. Meanwhile, far above Earth's atmosphere, the 12 sister ships of the Defiant maintained their silent watch. They hung in different orbits, invisible to most sensors, ready to respond to any threat in seconds. The Defiant herself was undergoing maintenance and upgrades. Even the most advanced warship needed care and improvement. On the Council station, Ambassador Jake Morrison sat across a table from representatives of 6 different species. They were negotiating terms for what would become the Sol Alliance Charter, a document that would guarantee the rights and sovereignty of member species. No domination, no exploitation, just cooperation between equals. It was slow work. Each species had different concerns and needs, different cultures and communication styles. But Jake was patient. He had learned patience dealing with the Council. He knew that building something worthwhile took time. One of the delegates, a small furry creature named Elder Trin, spoke up. Her species had been under draconian control for 3 generations. Ambassador Morrison, my people are still afraid. What happens if the Imperium decides to punish us for joining this alliance? What if they come for us? Then they will face humanity, Jake replied simply. That is what an alliance means. An attack on one is an attack on all. If the Draconians threaten you, the Defiant and her sisters will respond. We will not let you stand alone, but you are so far away. Your ships cannot be everywhere at once. We do not need to be everywhere. We just need to be somewhere the Imperium does not want us to be. They remember what happened at Sol. They will not risk another encounter. And if they do, they will regret it even more than the first time. Another delegate, a tall crystalline being, raised a limb to get attention. But what do you want in return, Ambassador? Nobody gives protection for free. What price will humanity demand for this security? Jake met the being's multifaceted eyes. Fair trade, open communication, mutual respect. That is our price. We are not building an empire. We are building a community. Humans benefit when our neighbors are safe and prosperous, when we can trade freely and learn from each other. That is worth more to us than tribute or control. The delegates looked at each other. This was so different from how the Council operated, so different from the Imperium's brutal rule. It was almost too good to be true. But the humans had proven they kept their word. When they said they would defend Sol, they defended it. When they said they would not conquer, they did not conquer. Perhaps this alliance really could work. Back on Earth, Chen's communicator buzzed again. This time it was a video call. She answered it and saw Commander Kate Sullivan's face. "Sorry to bother you on leave, Admiral," Sullivan said, "but I thought you would want to know. Long-range sensors just detected something interesting. A draconian scout ship approached the exclusion zone boundary. It stopped exactly at the 5-light-year mark, sat there for 10 minutes scanning, then turned around and left without entering." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "They are testing to see if we are still watching. Still ready. That was my assessment too. Should we be concerned? Or is this actually good? It means they are being cautious, respectful of our boundaries. If they were planning something aggressive, they would not announce their presence like that. This was them checking to make sure we meant what we said. And when we did not react or chase them, they learned that we are confident, not paranoid or trigger-happy." Sullivan smiled. "Playing the long game, always. Go ahead and log the incident. Include my analysis, and make sure all ships stay on normal alert. We show strength through calm readiness, not by jumping at shadows." "Understood, Admiral. Enjoy the rest of your leave." The call ended. Chen continued walking. The sun was starting to set over the ocean. The sky turned brilliant shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful. Simple beauty that existed regardless of politics or war or the vast complexities of galactic civilization. She thought about how far humanity had come. Just a few years ago, they were unknown, ignored. When they finally introduced themselves, they were mocked and dismissed. The Council had voted to take Earth as if humans were too primitive to defend themselves. They had learned better. Humanity had shown the galaxy that technological advancement did not always follow predictable paths. That a young species could make breakthrough discoveries that changed everything. That being underestimated was sometimes an advantage. Now humans stood as equals among the stars. Maybe more than equals. They had power that made ancient empires nervous. But they were using that power carefully, thoughtfully, to protect rather than conquer, to build rather than destroy. That was the real test. Not whether you could win a fight, but what you did after you won. Chen's communicator buzzed one more time. She laughed and checked it. This time it was a message from her sister. "Just checking that you are actually on Earth and not still working. Mom wants to know if you are coming to dinner tomorrow. Please say yes or she will never let me hear the end of it." Chen smiled and typed back a quick response. "Tell Mom I will be there. Would not miss it for anything. Even saving the galaxy, because that was the point of everything they did. All the preparations and weapons and defensive strategies. It was not about dominating the galaxy or proving human superiority. It was about protecting moments like this. Family dinners, children playing on beaches, the freedom to walk under an open sky without fear. The Defiant and her sister ship stood guard so that life could continue, so that Earth could remain Earth, so that humans could still be human even as they took their place among the stars. The galaxy had mocked humanity once, called them primitive and weak, voted to take their home away. But without warning or signal, a Terran warship had appeared, and everything changed. Now the galaxy knew better. Now they knew that humanity was here to stay, that humans would defend what was theirs with technology and determination that shocked even the most powerful empires, that they would build alliances based on respect rather than fear, that they would chart their own course through the stars on their own terms. The sun completed its descent below the horizon. Stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Chen looked up at them. Somewhere out there, the Defiant waited, ready, watching. A promise written in black metal and quantum fire. Humanity had been tested. They had been threatened. And they had responded not with fear or submission, but with defiance, with strength, with the determination that had carried their species through millions of years of survival against impossible odds. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson, one that would not be forgotten for generations to come. Never underestimate humanity. Never mistake youth for weakness. Never assume that because a species is new to the stars, they are helpless, because humans had proven beyond all doubt that they were neither weak nor helpless. They were survivors, innovators, defenders of their home and their freedom, and they would never, ever apologize for that. 3 months passed after what became known throughout the galaxy as the Battle of Sol. The entire universe was still trying to adjust to a completely new reality. Nothing would ever be the same again. The Galactic Council had formally recognized Earth's sovereignty after weeks of heated debate. They had also accepted the 5-light-year exclusion zone around the Sol system, though many delegates had argued against it. Some wanted to mount a united military response to what they called the human threat. Others pushed for immediate diplomatic engagement to learn human secrets. In the end, practical thinking won. Nobody wanted to find out if humanity was bluffing about having even more powerful hidden weapons. The Draconian Imperium had withdrawn its claim on Sol. They paid massive reparations to Earth for the attempted invasion. Lord Xanthor had been recalled to his homeworld in disgrace. His political career was finished. The once mighty Imperium suddenly looked vulnerable and weak. Subject species that had feared draconian power for centuries began to whisper about independence. Rival powers sensed an opportunity. On Earth itself, life had changed dramatically. People who had never thought about space or aliens now talked about nothing else. The footage of the Defiant destroying draconian warships had been broadcast across every network. Children played games pretending to be Admiral Chen. Scientists worked frantically to understand the principles behind the new technology. Politicians debated what role Earth should play in galactic affairs. Admiral Lisa Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant. Her ship hung in orbit above Jupiter, watching over the Sol system. She was one of 13 sentinels now protecting humanity's home. The gas giant's colorful band swirled below, beautiful and hypnotic. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we have an incoming transmission from General Blake at Orbital Command. Put him through." General Henry Blake's weathered face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired as always, but there was satisfaction in his eyes. "Admiral Chen, I wanted to personally inform you that the Council has made it official. They have formally recognized our exclusion zone. We are sovereign, independent, free." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "We did what needed to be done, General. Though I suspect our troubles are far from over." "You are probably right," Blake agreed. "Intelligence reports tell us that several Council members are trying to reverse engineer our technology from the sensor data they collected during the battle. They will not succeed, but they will certainly try. We have also received 17 formal requests for diplomatic meetings, 23 trade proposals, and 3 marriage proposals from alien royalty." Chen raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Marriage proposals? Apparently some species find power very attractive." Who knew? They shared a brief laugh together. But Chen's expression grew serious again quickly. "General, I need your honest assessment. Was it worth it? Revealing ourselves like this? We sacrificed our greatest advantage, which was mystery and surprise. Now everyone knows we exist and what we can do." Blake was quiet for a moment, thinking carefully about his answer. "Do you know why we named your ship the Defiant?" "I assumed it was just standard military naming convention. Something strong and aggressive. It was more than that. It was a message. To ourselves as much as to anyone who might threaten us. Defiance is at the core of human nature. We defy gravity when we fly. We defy death when we cure diseases. We defy impossible odds when everyone says we cannot win. We defy anyone who tells us we are not good enough, smart enough, strong enough. That is who we are at our very foundation." Blake leaned forward toward the camera. His voice became more intense. "They mocked us, Admiral. They called us primitives. They laughed at our technology and our small fleet. They voted to steal our home and enslave our people as if we were nothing. So yes, it was absolutely worth it. We showed them that humanity does not beg for permission to exist. We do not ask nicely for a seat at the table. We build our own table, and anyone who does not like it can find somewhere else to sit." Chen nodded slowly. Understanding filled her. "I suppose we did make quite an entrance into galactic politics, that you did. Now comes the harder part. Diplomacy, trade agreements, technology exchange on our terms only, cultural exchanges, building alliances with species who respect us rather than fear us. We bought ourselves breathing room with military force. Now we need to use that time wisely to build a better future." "Understood. The Defiant will maintain her position here at Jupiter. We will be ready if anyone decides to test our resolve and see if we are really as strong as we claimed. I do not think they will test us, not after what you did to the Draconians. You put the fear of God into them. Or perhaps the fear of humans, which might actually be worse in their minds." The transmission ended. Chen turned back to face the main viewport. She watched Jupiter's storms rage across its surface. Those storms had been going on for centuries. Perhaps longer. They were powerful forces of nature that could never be controlled or stopped. Her executive officer, Commander Kate Sullivan, approached from the tactical station. She had been with Chen since the beginning. Since the first test flights of the Defiant, Admiral, I have been running combat simulations in my spare time. If the Council ever does manage to organize a coordinated military attack against us, even with all 13 ships working together, we would be hard-pressed to defend against thousands and thousands of vessels all at once. I know, Chen replied calmly. That is exactly why we needed them to believe we have more ships than we actually do. The greatest weapon is not always what you physically possess. Sometimes it is what your enemy thinks you possess, what they imagine in their nightmares. So we are bluffing about having additional secret weapons. Not entirely. Yes, we only have 13 ships right now. But our scientists and engineers are already designing the next generation, based on everything we learned from building these. In 5 years, we will have 50 ships like the Defiant. In 10 years, we will have hundreds. We bought ourselves precious time, Commander. Time to grow stronger. Time to adapt and improve. Time to become everything they fear we might already be. Sullivan smiled at that. Classic human strategy. Fake it until you make it. Something like that, yes. A soft alert chimed at the communication station. The officer there looked up with curiosity. Admiral, we are receiving a coded transmission. Origin is the Council station. It is marked for your eyes only. Chen frowned slightly. Route it to my private ready room. I will view it there. She walked off the bridge into her personal office. The door sealed behind her with a soft hiss. She sat down at her desk and opened the encrypted message. Ambassador Jake Morrison's face appeared on her private screen. Admiral Chen, I wanted to update you personally on the political situation here. Things are stabilizing, but in interesting ways. Several smaller species have quietly approached me about forming a new alliance completely separate from Council control. They see humanity as a potential counterbalance to Imperium power and Council politics. Jake paused, clearly choosing his next words with great care. I know we originally said we wanted to be left alone, to stay isolated and independent, but I think we have a real opportunity here, a chance to build something better than the Council, a coalition based on mutual respect and equality, rather than military domination and threats. It is what we originally hoped for when we first came here. We can still achieve it, just on our own terms this time. Chen considered his words carefully. You are talking about fundamentally reshaping galactic politics. That is ambitious. Perhaps too ambitious, yes, and I think we are uniquely positioned to do exactly that. We have proven we can defend ourselves against any threat. Now we can prove we are not conquerors, that humans keep their promises, that we are worth trusting and working with. This could change everything for the better. It is risky. We would be making ourselves targets again, drawing attention from those who already fear and resent us. We are already targets whether we like it or not. The only question is whether we hide from that reality or engage with it actively. I vote for engagement. For building bridges instead of just walls. Chen smiled despite herself. Not your call to make, Ambassador. You give recommendations. Others make the final decisions. But I will pass your thoughts to Earth Command immediately. And for what it is worth, I agree with your assessment. We did not build ships like the Defiant just to hide behind them like cowards. Thank you, Admiral. Morrison out. The screen went dark. Chen sat in the quiet of her office for several minutes just thinking. Thinking about the future. About possibilities and dangers. About what kind of galaxy humanity wanted to help create. They had been mocked and threatened and underestimated by the Council. In response, humanity had revealed just enough of their true capabilities to earn respect through demonstrated strength. Not everything they had, but enough to make everyone take them seriously. Now came the much harder challenge, proving they deserved that respect through their actions and choices, through how they treated others and built relationships. That would take years, maybe decades, but it was possible, and that was enough for now. The emergency session of the Galactic Council happened within hours of the Imperium's humiliating retreat. The same chamber where Jake Morrison had been mocked now buzzed with anxious whispers and nervous energy. Representatives from all 47 member species sat in their designated seats. But the atmosphere was completely different this time. Lord Xanthor stood at the central platform. His scales no longer gleamed with confidence. They looked dull, lifeless. His report had been brief and devastating. 78 ships lost, 0 human casualties, complete tactical failure. The word failure echoed in the minds of every delegate present. The council speaker's voice rang out. The floor now recognizes Ambassador Morrison of Earth. Jake walked to the platform. His expression was neutral and calm. Unlike his previous appearance here, no one laughed. No one made jokes. Every eye in the chamber was fixed on him with a mixture of fear and desperate curiosity. They all wanted answers. "Members of the council," Jake began, "I have returned to address the questions I know you all have. Questions about the Defiant, questions about human technology and military capability, questions about what happens next between our species and yours." Ambassador Krell, the crystalline being, spoke first. His earlier arrogance was completely gone. Now there was only fear in his voice. What was that weapon? Our best sensors could not even identify the energy type. How did you build such a ship? Where did you get this technology? Jake smiled slightly. You want the technical details very well. The Defiant uses a quantum singularity drive that manipulates the fabric of space-time itself. Her weapons are gravitic disruptors that tear apart molecular bonds at the quantum level. Her shields operate across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her armor is composed of metamaterials that should not exist according to your understanding of physics. Shocked silence filled the chamber. Jake let them absorb those words before continuing. But you are asking the wrong question. You want to know how we built her. What you should be asking is why we built her in the first place. Lady Vexara, the insectoid delegate, leaned forward with her many legs. Her compound eyes glittered. Then please enlighten us, Ambassador. Why would a species controlling only one star system build such a powerful vessel? Because we are paranoid, Jake replied simply. Let me tell you about humanity. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Ice ages that froze entire continents. Volcanoes that darkened the sky. Predators with claws and teeth. Diseases that killed millions. Natural disasters of every kind. We survived by being smarter, tougher, and more adaptable than anything else on our world. He paused, walking slowly around the platform so every delegate could see his face clearly. Then we turned that paranoia on ourselves. We spent 10,000 years fighting each other. Wars over land, resources, ideology, religion, and sometimes for no good reason at all. We built weapons capable of destroying our entire planet. Twice we came close to using them. We know what extinction looks like because we have stared into that abyss and somehow pulled ourselves back from the edge. Jake's voice grew harder, colder. So, when we finally achieved space, travel, and discovered we were not alone in the universe, what do you think we did? We prepared. We built defenses. We developed technology not for peaceful exploration or happy trade, but for survival. Because we learned the hardest possible way that the universe does not care about your good intentions or your peaceful nature. The universe is dangerous, and only the prepared survive. Xanthor finally found his voice again. One ship. You built only one ship. No, Jake said very quietly. We built 13. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in alarm. Some jumped from their seats. Others made sounds of distress in their various languages. The noise was deafening. Silence. The speaker called out, "Order." When the noise finally died down, she addressed Jake directly. 13 vessels of that capability exist? Yes, the Defiant was the first, the prototype. The other 12 are her sister ships. Each one is slightly improved based on lessons learned from the previous vessel. Together they form a fleet that could, if absolutely necessary, neutralize every military installation in Council space, every orbital station, every warship, every defended world. He let those words hang in the air like a threat, like a promise, but we do not want to do that. We came here originally hoping for peace, for cooperation, for a place in the galactic community as friends and partners. You responded with mockery and threats. You voted to invade our home and enslave our people. You forced our hand. You made us reveal what we had been keeping hidden. Jake returned to stand directly in front of the speaker's seat. His expression became hard as stone. So here is what will happen now. Earth formally withdraws its petition for council membership. We do not need your recognition or your permission. Instead, we are declaring a 5-light-year exclusion zone around the Sol system. Any ship that enters this zone without explicit permission will be destroyed immediately. No warnings, no second chances, no exceptions. You cannot do that. Lady Vexara protested. The council governs all civilized space. You have no legal authority to declare such a zone. This violates every treaty and agreement that... We have 13 ships that say we can. Jake interrupted coldly. Your rules and treaties only matter if you can enforce them. Can you enforce them against us? Can you stop us? No one answered. The silence was absolute. I thought not, Jake continued. However, I want to make something clear. We are not interested in conquest or domination. We do not want your territory. We do not want to rule over other species. We just want to be left alone in peace. Respect our borders, and we will respect yours. Trade between our peoples can continue. Diplomatic channels will remain open for those who wish to communicate. But humanity will not bend knee to any empire, council, or federation. Not now. Not ever. Ambassador Krell spoke very carefully, choosing each word with extreme caution. And if we refuse to accept this? If the council decides that humanity poses too great a threat to galactic security and must be neutralized for the safety of all? Jake's expression did not change. His voice remained calm and level. Then you will discover that the Defiant was not our most advanced warship. She was simply the one we were willing to show you. He was bluffing. There were no more advanced ships. But the Council did not know that. Let them imagine in their darkest nightmares what worse weapons humanity might possess. Fear was proving to be a very powerful deterrent. The Council will need time to deliberate on this matter, the speaker announced. Ambassador Morrison, you are dismissed for now. We will contact you when a decision has been reached. Jake nodded respectfully and turned to leave the chamber. As he reached the massive doors, Xanthor's voice stopped him. Why? Why reveal yourselves now? You could have remained hidden for years or decades, built more ships in secret, achieved total military superiority before anyone knew enough to fear you. Why show your hand? Jake looked back at the defeated Draconian Lord. Despite everything that had happened, he felt a moment of sympathy. Xanthor's entire worldview had been shattered, because despite our history, despite all our wars and violence and paranoia, we still hope for peace. We are showing you our strength not because we want to conquer you. We are showing it to prevent war from happening in the first place. A strong deterrent keeps everyone honest. It makes people think twice before attacking. And if war comes anyway, if we cannot avoid it, then you will learn why humans survived every challenge our planet threw at us for millions of years, Jake said. His voice was soft but carried clearly through the silent chamber. We do not fight fair. We do not fight by rules of honor or traditions of warfare. We fight to win by any means necessary. We fight with everything we have. And we do not stop until our enemy can no longer threaten us. That is who we are. That is what we do. Jake walked out of the chamber. The heavy doors closed behind him with a sound of finality. Behind those doors, the council delegates sat in stunned silence. Each one was thinking about what this meant for the galaxy they thought they knew. Everything had changed in less than a day. The old order, where might made right and the strong ruled the weak, was being challenged. A new power had emerged from an unexpected corner of the galaxy. A species that everyone had dismissed as primitive and weak had just demonstrated technological superiority that made the Council's vast fleets look like toys. In the corridors outside the Council chamber, Jake contacted Earth. The mission has been completed, he reported. They know about our capabilities now. The exclusion zone demand has been delivered. We will see how they respond. Good work, Ambassador, came the reply. Come home. We have much to discuss about the future. Jake closed the communication and looked out through a nearby window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, Earth waited. Humanity's home. The planet they had fought so hard to protect. And now, thanks to a combination of paranoia, determination, and secret scientific breakthroughs, that home was safe, for now. But he knew this was only the beginning of a much longer and more complicated story. This is not possible, the tactical officer whispered. Our weapons could crack a planet open. How can one ship withstand all of that? Lord Xanthor, the sensor officer interrupted, his voice rising in panic. The human ship is powering weapons, reading massive energy buildup. Whatever she is about to do, the Defiant moved. She did not move slowly like other large warships. She accelerated from a complete stop to full combat speed in just seconds. Her engines left no visible trail, no energy signature that made any sense. She was just suddenly moving at impossible velocity. And then she fired. Twin beams of energy shot from her forward weapons. They were not plasma. They were not lasers. They were something else entirely. Something that made space itself scream as the beams passed through it. The weapons struck 2 draconian dreadnoughts. The warship simply stopped existing. There was no explosion, no debris field, no wreckage floating in space. They were there one moment, gone the next, as if they had never been. Chaos erupted across the fleet communication channels. The Crimson Dawn is gone. Eternal glory has been destroyed. What was that weapon? What in all the hells was that? The Defiant turned sharply. She moved with the agility of a small fighter craft despite her enormous size. She dove straight into the heart of the Imperium formation, her weapons fired in precise bursts. Every shot found its target. Every shot meant instant death. Destroyers exploded in balls of fire. Cruisers broke apart into pieces. Carrier groups tried to scatter and run, but the human warship was everywhere at once. Her targeting systems were so accurate that she never missed. She never wasted a single shot. All ships, scatter formation. Break away and engage individually. Xanthor ordered desperately. She cannot target all of us at the same time. The fleet tried to spread out in different directions. But it was like trying to escape from a hunting animal that had already caught the scent of blood. The Defiant cut through their ranks with cold, methodical precision. She did not waste movement. She did not make mistakes. She did not hesitate even for a second. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, Xanthor watched his proud armada die. "Status report," he demanded, his voice cracking. "We have lost 47 ships in 3 minutes," the tactical officer reported. His voice was hollow with shock. "She has destroyed 8 dreadnoughts, 23 cruisers, and 16 destroyers. Our weapons cannot even touch her. Every time we fire, she either dodges or her shields absorb everything. Lord Xanthor, we need to retreat. We need to get out of here now." "No!" Xanthor slammed his fist down on the command console. The metal dented under the impact. "This is impossible. One ship cannot defeat an entire armada. Focus all remaining fire on her. Ram her if you must. I will not be humiliated by these primitive humans." But even as he gave the order, Xanthor knew the truth. This was no primitive vessel. This was something far beyond anything the Galactic Council possessed. The humans had been hiding not just a ship, but a complete technological revolution. They had made a leap forward that rendered everyone else in the galaxy obsolete. A proximity alarm shrieked loudly. The Defiant was coming straight at them at full speed. "Evasive maneuvers," Xanthor shouted. The Eternal Conquest tried to turn, but capital ships were not built for quick movements. They were slow and heavy. The Defiant streaked past them, so close that Xanthor could see details on her hull through the viewport. Strange markings in human language. Unfamiliar technology that looked almost organic. As if the ship were somehow alive. As she passed, her weapons fired again. Not at the Eternal Conquest, but at the ships around it. 4 destroyers that had been moving to protect the flagship simply disintegrated in flashes of light. A message came through on the priority channel. Admiral Chen's voice was still calm and controlled. "Your time is up, Lord Xanthor. I am going to give you one final chance. Order your ships to retreat immediately, or I will continue until none of you remain in this system." Xanthor looked at the displays around his command chair. He had lost over a quarter of his fleet in less than 10 minutes of combat. The survivors were scattered across space, disorganized and terrified. Whatever confidence they had possessed was gone. It had been replaced by the primal fear of prey that suddenly realizes it faces an apex predator. Pride fought against survival instinct inside Xanthor's mind. The Draconian Imperium had never retreated from battle. They had never surrendered. They had never been defeated. Not in 2,000 years of expansion and conquest until now. "All ships," he said quietly. Each word tasted like poison in his mouth. "Withdraw from the system immediately. Retreat to safe distance and prepare for hyperspace jump." The order spread through what remained of the once mighty armada. Ships that had come to conquer now fled for their lives. Their engines burned at maximum power as they raced toward the edge of the system, where they could safely jump to hyperspace. The Defiant did not pursue them. She simply hung in space, silent and watchful, a dark guardian standing between the invaders and Earth, letting them run, letting them spread the word of what they had witnessed. As the Eternal Conquest made the jump to hyperspace, Xanthor stared at the view screen until the blue-green planet disappeared from view. His bridge crew worked in silence. Nobody knew what to say. They had just witnessed the impossible. "What are they?" the tactical officer whispered. "What kind of species builds something like that?" Xanthor had no answer, but he knew one thing with absolute certainty. The galaxy had just changed forever. The old order, where the Imperium and the Council ruled through military might, was over. A new power had emerged, and they had announced their arrival in the most dramatic way possible. Back in the Sol system, Admiral Lisa Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant. Around her, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. The battle had lasted only 12 minutes. They had not taken a single hit. Not one crew member was injured. Status report, Chen requested. All systems nominal, her executive officer replied. Shields at 98%. Weapons ready. The enemy fleet has jumped to hyperspace. They are gone, Chen nodded. Stand down from combat alert. Maintain standard defensive posture. And someone get me a connection to Earth Command. They will want a full report. A young communications officer looked up from her station. Admiral, we are receiving hundreds of transmissions from Earth. Everyone wants to know what happened. The news networks, the government, civilian channels, they all saw the battle. Tell them that Earth is safe, Chen said. The threat has been eliminated. The Draconian fleet has withdrawn. We are standing guard. That is all they need to know for now. Yes, Admiral. Chen walked to the large viewport at the front of the bridge. She looked out at Earth floating peacefully in the distance. Billions of people lived down there. They had gone about their daily lives not knowing how close they had come to invasion, to conquest, to losing everything, but now they were safe. The Defiant had done her job. She had shown the galaxy that humanity was not prey, that humans would defend their home with everything they had. That underestimating them was a fatal mistake. The executive officer approached and stood beside Chen. That was almost too easy, he said quietly. They had 300 ships. We are just one. Numbers do not matter when you have overwhelming technological superiority, Chen replied. Their weapons were designed to fight ships built with their level of technology. They had no answer for ours. It would be like bringing swords to a gunfight. Do you think they will come back? No, not the Draconians. They have learned their lesson. But others will hear about this. Some will be frightened away. Others will be curious. A few might be stupid enough to test us. We need to be ready. The Defiant and her sister ships? Chen smiled slightly. Yes, 12 more ships just like this one, hidden in different parts of the system. The Draconians never saw them. They never knew how badly they were outnumbered. The executive officer grinned. That is devious. I like it. It is survival, Chen corrected. We are one small species in a galaxy full of empires and predators. We cannot afford to fight fair. We have to be smarter, faster, more ruthless when necessary. That is how humanity has always survived. She turned away from the viewport. Maintain watch. If anything larger than a shuttle tries to enter the system, I want to know about it immediately. Understood, Admiral. Chen walked to her command chair and sat down. The cushion was worn from months of use. The Defiant had been her home for a long time. She and her crew had trained for years for this moment, and when it came, they had been ready. Now the real work would begin. The galaxy knew about them, about what humans could do. The question was what would happen next. 6 days passed quickly. The Draconian war fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system right on schedule. It was a massive display of power meant to terrify anyone who saw it. 300 warships appeared in perfect formation. Each ship was painted with the red and gold colors of the Draconian Imperium. The largest vessels were called dreadnoughts. They were as big as small moons. Behind them came carrier ships, destroyers, and support vessels. The fleet stretched across thousands of kilometers of space. It looked like a floating city made for war. Lord Xanthor stood on the bridge of his flagship. The ship was named Eternal Conquest. He looked out through the large window at the front of the bridge. In the distance, he could see Earth. It was a beautiful blue and green planet. It looked peaceful. It had no idea what was about to happen. Give me a report, Xanthor ordered his crew. All ships have arrived safely, said his tactical officer. We are in perfect formation. We can see the human orbital stations and their patrol ships. We count 28 vessels total. They are spread out across the system. Very weak defenses, sir. Xanthor nodded with satisfaction. The intelligence reports had been correct. The humans had even fewer ships than they claimed. This would be over very quickly. It would barely be a fight. Open a communication channel to Earth, Xanthor commanded. A moment later, a human face appeared on the main screen. This was General Henry Blake. He was the commander of Earth's orbital defense forces. He looked tired. His hair was gray, but his eyes were hard and determined. Lord Xanthor, Blake said in a flat voice, why have you brought an invasion fleet to our home? Xanthor smiled, showing his many sharp teeth. Invasion? No, General Blake. This is protection. The Galactic Council has placed Earth under Imperium control. We are here to secure your system and bring your people into our empire. We do not want your protection, Blake replied. Leave our system now. I am afraid that is not possible. However, I am not cruel. Surrender now, and few of your people will die. You will be treated fairly under Imperium rule, but if you resist, we will have to show you what happens when someone defies our power. Blake was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, there was something strange in his voice. It sounded almost like pity. You really should have listened to Ambassador Morrison. You were warned. Warned? Xanthor laughed. About what? Your hidden fleet? Your secret weapons? Please, General. I have 300 warships. Even if you had twice as many ships as we thought, the outcome would be the same. You will lose. I am not talking about our ships, Blake said quietly. I am talking about hers. Before Xanthor could respond, loud alarms began to sound all over the bridge. His crew started shouting in panic. Spatial distortion detected. The sensor officer yelled. Unknown energy signature. Nothing in our database. Reading massive power buildup at... The officer stopped talking. Every screen on the bridge started to flicker and show strange readings. The distortion was not coming from far away. It was coming from directly in front of them. Space itself seemed to tear open. It was not the normal blue glow of hyperspace. It was not the purple swirl of warp drives. This was something completely different. Reality folded and twisted. It looked wrong. It looked painful to watch. And then she appeared. The warship that came through that impossible hole in space was like nothing anyone had ever seen. She was massive. She was easily twice the size of the Eternal Conquest. But it was not her size that made experienced warriors take a step backward. It was something else. Something about her presence. Her hull was completely black. It seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. She had sharp angles and aggressive lines that made her look like a predator. No lights decorated her surface. There were no colorful markings, no identification numbers. She was pure function, pure purpose, pure threat. What is that? Xanthor whispered. Scanning now, sir, the sensor officer said. His voice was shaking. Lord Xanthor, these readings make no sense. Her power output is beyond anything I have ever seen. The energy signature does not match anything in our database. She is generating some kind of field that is blocking our sensors. I cannot get clear readings on her weapons, but... But what? Xanthor snapped. Sir, according to our instruments, that ship should not be possible. The energy needed to power her systems exceeds anything we thought was achievable. She is running on technology we do not understand. The mysterious warship hung in space. She was silent and still. No communication, no demands, no movement. She just waited. Open a channel, Xanthor ordered. Unidentified vessel. This is Lord Xanthor of the Draconian Imperium. You are in council space illegally. Identify yourself immediately and power down your weapons. Silence. I repeat. Identify yourself or we will... A voice cut through his transmission. It was a female voice. It was calm and controlled, but there was steel underneath. This is Admiral Lisa Chen, commanding officer of the Terran Warship Defiant. You are in violation of sovereign human space. You have 10 minutes to begin your withdrawal from this system. If you are still here after that time, I will consider it an act of war, and I will respond accordingly. The bridge crew of the Eternal Conquest stood in shocked silence. Xanthor felt his scales flush with rage and disbelief. One ship. You have one ship and you dare threaten my armada? I have 300 warships. Do you understand what you face? Yes, Admiral Chen replied calmly. Do you? Xanthor's claws dug into his command chair. The metal groaned under the pressure. You have 9 minutes to surrender your ship. If you do not, I will destroy you and then proceed with securing Earth. Your defiance means nothing. Then I suppose we will find out, Chen said. 8 minutes remaining, Lord Xanthor. The clock is ticking. The communication channel closed. Xanthor turned to his tactical officer. Target that ship. All forward weapons. On my command, I want her reduced to atoms. Weapons locked and ready, Lord Xanthor. He stared at the black warship. This defiant. He felt something he had not experienced in many years. Not fear, surely, but uncertainty. Doubt. What if the human was not bluffing? No. He pushed the feeling away. He had 300 ships. One vessel, no matter how advanced, could not defeat an entire fleet. Numbers always won. Numbers had to win. Fire, he commanded. 200 plasma cannons fired at the same moment. The darkness of space lit up with streams of superheated energy. Each bolt carried enough power to destroy a city. The barrage came from multiple angles, designed to overwhelm any defense system. The black warship did not move. Impact in 3 seconds, the tactical officer reported. 2, 1. The plasma bolts struck the Defiant and stopped. A shimmering shield appeared around the ship. It was only visible where the energy weapons touched it. The plasma splashed against the barrier like water hitting a wall. It dissipated harmlessly into space. Not a single shot got through. Impossible, Xanthor breathed. Nothing can stop that much firepower. Her shields are at full strength, the sensor officer reported in disbelief. No damage at all. No energy loss. It is like our weapons did not even touch her. Admiral Chen's voice came through the speakers again. She sounded completely unbothered. Is that your best? You have 7 minutes remaining. Rage flooded through Xanthor like fire. All ships, concentrate all fire on that vessel. Every weapon in the fleet, I want her destroyed. The order spread through the armada. 300 warships adjusted their positions. Thousands of weapons turned to aim at a single target. Plasma cannons, missiles, railguns, beam weapons. Every tool of destruction in the Imperium arsenal prepared to fire. All ships report ready, the communications officer said. Fire, Xanthor roared. The combined firepower of 300 warships struck the Defiant all at once. Space itself seemed to catch fire. The energy release was so bright that the viewing screens automatically dimmed to protect everyone's eyes. When the light faded, the crew of the Eternal Conquest stared in horror at what they saw. The Defiant remained, untouched, unmoved, her shield still at full strength. Not a scratch on her black hull. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was the most important building in the known universe. It stood on a planet called Unity Prime, far from Earth. The walls were made of crystal that sparkled in the light. 47 different species from across the galaxy had their seats in this hall. Today, they were all here to listen to a human. Jake Morrison walked slowly to the center of the room. He wore a simple gray suit. Around him, alien beings wore fancy clothes covered in jewels and metals. Some had 4 arms. Others had scales or fur or skin that glowed. Jake looked very plain compared to them, but he stood tall and tried not to show his fear. Jake had traveled for 3 months to get here. Earth had sent him with one job. Ask the Galactic Council to accept humans as members. Earth wanted to join the community of spacefaring species. They wanted to trade, learn, and live in peace with their neighbors. He reached the speaking platform and looked around the room. Hundreds of alien eyes stared back at him. Some looked curious. Most looked amused. A few looked hungry. Jake cleared his throat and began to speak. His voice echoed in the huge chamber. We come in peace. Earth asks to join the Galactic Council as a member. We want to share our knowledge and culture. We want to learn from you. We promise to follow the rules and help make the galaxy a better place. The moment he finished speaking, laughter filled the hall. It came from all directions. Different species laughed in different ways. Some made clicking sounds. Others roared or whistled. But they were all laughing at him. A huge creature stood up from its seat. This was Lord Xanthor. He was from a species called the Draconians. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Xanthor was covered in bright red scales. He was 3 meters tall. His yellow eyes stared down at Jake with contempt. How funny, Xanthor said. His voice was deep and made a hissing sound. The little humans want to sit with us. Tell me, human, how many star systems does your species control? Jake kept his face calm. 1. We control our home system. The Sol system, more laughter. The Draconians controlled 47 star systems. Even the smallest members of the council controlled at least 5 systems. Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a giant insect. Her name was Lady Vexara. She had many legs and large compound eyes that reflected the light like mirrors. "And your military?" she asked with fake sweetness. "How many warships does Earth have?" "We have 32 ships," Jake answered. He did not mention that most of these were exploration vessels. They had some weapons, but they were not built for war. 32. Xanthor's laugh boomed through the hall. "I have more ships than that in my personal guard. The Draconian Imperium commands over 15,000 warships. And you think you can stand as our equal?" The other aliens joined in the mockery. Jake felt his face getting hot, but he forced himself to stay calm. His superiors back on Earth had warned him this might happen. The Galactic Council was not really democratic. It was ruled by the strong. Those with the most ships and the most weapons made the rules. Xanthor was enjoying himself now. He walked around his seat still talking. "Your species has not even learned proper space travel. You use slow warp drives that take weeks to travel between stars. We make the same journey in hours. You are children playing with toys you do not understand." Jake tried to speak. "We are young, yes, but we want to learn. We have much to offer in terms of art and science, and—" "You have nothing we need," said another alien. This one was called Ambassador Krell. His body was made of living crystal. Light passed through him and created rainbow patterns on the floor. "Your planet has valuable resources, yes, but it is protected by nothing. We are not discussing whether to accept you. We are discussing whether to simply take what we want from your world." The mood in the hall changed. The laughter became darker, more threatening. Jake felt his heart beating faster. He realized he had made a terrible mistake. Earth had sent him here hoping for friendship. Instead, he had shown these predators that Earth was weak and undefended. Jake spoke carefully. "The Council Charter protects developing worlds. Article 12 clearly states that—" "The Charter protects worlds we choose to protect," Xanthor interrupted. "Your Earth is not under our protection yet. It sits in unclaimed space. Any council member could take your system, and no law would be broken." Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. This was worse than failure. This was disaster. Xanthor turned to face the other council members. "I propose that the Draconian Imperium be given rights to the Sol system. We will use its resources for our expansion. The humans living there can be moved to other worlds, or they can work for us." Many aliens nodded their heads or made sounds of agreement. Jake's mind raced. He needed to do something. He needed to warn Earth. He needed time. "You are making a mistake," Jake said quietly. The hall went silent. Xanthor turned back to look at him. His eyes were cold and angry. "Is that a threat, little human? You who has nothing dared to threaten the might of my empire?" "Not a threat," Jake replied. "A warning. You see us as weak because we have few ships. You laugh at our technology. But you are making assumptions about humanity. Assumptions that will cost you dearly." "What assumptions?" Lady Vexera asked. She sounded amused. Jake looked around the room. He met as many alien eyes as he could. That numbers are all that matter. That because we are young, we must be helpless. That we will simply accept whatever you decide to do to us. Xanthor waved his clawed hand dismissively. Empty words from a desperate fool. "The vote will happen now. All who support giving the Sol system to the Draconian Imperium, raise your hand." Across the hall, aliens raised their hands or claws or tentacles. Jake counted quickly. 28 votes in favor. More than enough to pass. "The vote passes," Xanthor announced with satisfaction. "The Sol system now belongs to the Draconian Imperium. Ambassador Morrison, you have 72 hours to leave this station. After that, my fleet will travel to Earth and take control." Jake stood still for a long moment. Then he spoke one final time. "You will regret this," Xanthor laughed. "Will we? What will your 32 little ships do against my armada of thousands? Please tell us one more time how brave humans are before you go home in shame." Jake allowed himself a small, grim smile. "You want to know the truth? We did not send 32 ships because we are weak. We sent them because we wanted you to see them. We wanted you to think that was all we had." He paused to make sure everyone heard his next words. "Those 32 ships are not our fleet. They are our greeting card. Our real fleet does not announce itself. It does not show off. It waits in the dark. And it strikes without warning." Some of the laughter died down. Jake turned and began walking toward the exit. "Empty threats." Xanthor called after him. "My fleet will reach Earth in 6 days. Your world will kneel before the Imperium or it will burn." Jake did not look back. He had delivered his warning. What happened next was out of his hands. As the heavy doors closed behind him, he pulled out a small communication device. "This is Morrison," he said quietly into the device. "The Council rejected us. They voted to take Earth by force. The Draconian fleet is coming. Estimated arrival is 6 days." A voice answered immediately. "Understood. Protocol 7 is now active." The Admiral has been informed. Jake closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Protocol 7, the last resort. The option nobody wanted to use. The option that would change everything. He hoped the Council knew what they had just started.